and that turned into $18,000 assignment.
What was your motivation to bring your son in?
The franchise, baby.
So Jacob talks, he offers the cash.
Breaking down that wall has never been a problem. Just being honest and upfront with them.
It's not about how many contracts we get. It's when you get a deal.
Welcome back, everyone. And today I have a very exciting success video to share with all of you. I have a father and son combo, Joy and Jacob, who are going to share with you guys some of their key tips, how they close deals with iSpeedToLead and how they elevated their business to the new height. So, guys, nice to have you. How's it going?
It's going great.
Blessed and highly favored. Thank you very much.
So, do you mind sharing a little bit more about yourself? Like, how did your journey in real estate started? And, what do you guys do? How long have you been doing this? And where are you based? Everybody probably can see that you're Georgia guys, but tell us more. What's your story?
My name's Joey Zawacki, and I've been doing real estate as an investor and a buyer a little over 5 years, fix and flips, different things like that. And then got into the wholesale game probably last year. I was new to wholesaling, so I kind of teamed up with somebody that was a power player in the industry and in the space, but as an independent. And he was more on the buyer's Dispo side. So he had a Keegley franchise, and just partnered with him and learned that side of the business. We did a couple deals together. I continued to grow in the creative finance space and also the wholesale space and doing some complex things, and then decided that I wanted to really focus on bringing my son into the business, which is Jacob, and how I was going to get myself to bring him over full time and provide a sustainable income for him. So on Thanksgiving 2024, Black Friday specials, I am a very high performance individual, and I only usually surround myself with very successful people, because you gotta, your top five is who you essentially feed off of and you become. So for me, I watched everybody in the industry, binged a bunch of YouTube stuff, and there's a lot of great leaders in the space, but one truly stood out for me, and that was RJ Bates. He's just a savage. And if I was going to have somebody train my son, it's somebody that I would need to approve, both professionally and personally, somebody that I could see myself hanging out with. But when you entrust your son to a new industry that's going to be highly regulated at some point, you need somebody that's doing things right and teaching the right processes and procedures. And I just think RJ's ahead of the game, to be quite honest with you. And I am part of other mentorships, and by far, RJ is crushing it. I also like him being new to the space and giving it 150% like he does on everything. So he's just got a killer team with his staff and his business partner. So I joined November. I bought his Black Friday special. I didn't join his university. I then saw that he posted iSpeedToLead, watched his videos about you guys, his KPIs, 1 in 25. You guys actually have it to where if you buy a package, you can break it down to a payment plan. I was like, I got nothing to lose. It's like $500 up front and then payment plans per month. If I do what RJ says, I'll close a deal and it pays for itself. So my goal was to have Jacob, and we were on track to have him on staff full time by January. So I just needed a system and process in place. So I joined it on a Thursday. I binge watched by Sunday, doing exactly what he says, not veering, only cash, no creative, just sticking to what he says. Between my iSpeedToLead package, so I bought a gold package, I bought a Dispo package with deal speed, and I did coupon club. And then you guys had a ton of specials going on. So by Sunday, I had my first one call, one close, and that turned into $18,000 assignment. It would have been 20, but I paid some TC fees. It was kind of my first true wholesale by myself, so I was kind of getting some growing pains, and decided to pay a couple of things out of pocket. So it was actually a $20,000 assignment. We netted 18.5 out of the deal. Through the process, I saw it worked. We went ahead and made a decision to join Titanium University. That way it gave Jake a little bit more structure to break down the whole process. And since November, to this week, we've done right at $48,000 in assignments and closings, iSpeedToLead only. So we just do the true KPIs of 1 in 25. Sometimes it's 1 in 28, but then you close 2 or 3 in the next round of 30. So we're on track now to do $100,000 and have these deals close. We're in a good point of growth. So since me in November, my one-man team, I have a business partner. We have my son. We've brought somebody in that will focus on creative deals to underwrite and do creative only. So we have cash with Jacob, creative with another acquisitions person. Her name is Mary. And then we have 2 people on Dispo. We've learned Investor Lift. So it's in the Investor Lift free version. So everything we've done is exactly, as low cost as possible for entry. We're a total now of 7 people. So I've taken myself out of the day to day and I'm on operations and I'm in growth. So right now we're playing with integrating AI into our CRM to maximize Jacob's time and our acquisitions and Dispo, a dialer into the CRM so that they're spending more time talking and not dialing. The AI will do bookings, calendar management, sending text, as they get, and then just the AI drips and stuff like that. So myself and my business partner, we're just here as support and really trying to focus on scaling and hitting our goal is $100,000 a month and to finish the year off at, like 1.2, 1.1, somewhere around in there. But now I'm just support and I'll let Jacob had no experience in real estate whatsoever. So that's why I knew I needed a mentor for him, somebody besides his father. So that's why I was in search of a mentorship that would really focus on what his best assets are, which is he is a closer. And I just needed somebody to make him a closer for real estate. So I'm going to pass the mic off to my son, Jacob.
So yeah, I'm Jacob, Joey's son, 25. As soon as I graduated high school, I didn't go to school. I went straight into sales. It was hopping around car lots, selling campers, power sports, you name it. And my dad, he kind of calls me up over the summer and kind of throws the idea at me, and I was like, yeah, I would be interested for sure, with doing wholesaling. And well, came time around August, September, the idea became a little bit more and more real until, November and December where, he was like, this is happening. Like, you better be there, be square. And December 27th, I quit my W-2. It was the last day of my W-2. And pretty much January 1st is when I started. So I just started training with RJ pretty consistently. And I think that was like a Wednesday. And by the time that I got a call on Friday, RJ, whenever you buy his program, you get 30 of those free iSpeedToLead leads, right? And by Friday, I was like, you know what? I'm done with this training. Like, I just want to call somebody, talk to them. And it would have been a deal. The deal was on the market, so on and so forth. Regardless, it was still a deal. So come time, fast forward around the middle of that next week, and I got my first contract, so pretty much 5 or 6 days in, started making calls that next week. I reached out to some people in the community, a lot of people who use iSpeedToLead, started talking to them, letting them listen to my phone calls, and it just kind of took off. And from there, I spent a little bit of time training still, but most importantly, I just grind the phones all day. I think so the first month in January, we had 5 contracts, and this month we've got, or at least for me, 2 right now. So 7 in total for a month and 2 weeks, one of which is already across the curb for $26,000 or $28,000 assignment fee. So
that was a lead from fixed price mode. We utilize some AI technology on that, and I posted it on. It was the Bills game. It was a playoff game, and I was getting ready to put things on the grill, kind of chill, watch the football game, and I hit an AI option for Dispo, and within 2 hours, I had a guy. I sent the deal. I was thinking Monday morning I'll follow up with emails or anybody who's who reached out about the deal. And within 2 hours, we had that deal locked up, dispoed. A guy was out there with his flashlight. And that's how you know when a deal is a deal. Because if it's a good deal and you put it out into your dispo channels, Deal Speed, any of them, if it's a hot deal, they're going to be blowing your phone up. And that was my first way to show the team, listen, it's not about how many contracts we get. It's when you get a deal. And this shows you when it's a deal and it'll dispo fast. So, we're just kind of using that success from iSpeedToLead, but also the process of comping correctly and writing up the correct marketing package. But in all honesty, you don't need marketing. If it's a good deal and an investor sees it and they know the area, they know the zip code, and it's hot and they walk it, you could.
Another thing to tie into it too, I mean, that was a predictive AI call. I know a lot of people think that those calls, like, oh, it's a predictive AI, it's, this and that. That was a 2-hour phone call, all in all, with everything said and done. 2 weeks later.
So from the time you called that lead, Jacob, just so people understand, it was a fixed price mode. It was AI interactive. And the reason I'm harping on this, Yuri, is because some people on my team will prejudge the iSpeed to lead before they call it because they see the lead source. So we started importing it into the CRM and taking all that out. So they can't see that. They don't know if it's AI, Facebook, Google search, or Google that, because the system is the system. Don't prejudge a lead before you call it, because it'll get into your mind and it has nothing to do. But this is proof that the AI predictive calls, if it's a deal, it's a deal. And if it's a seller and you work the seller correctly, but tell them exactly the process, I guess, of the fixed price mode from the point of contact to the point of dispo, what it was like on your side with the seller.
I mean, the lead came in at 658 on fixed price mode. And I was sitting there kind of wrapping up towards the end of my day. And she's like, you know what? Let's just go ahead and call him. And so I got on the phone. And so typically with these predictive AI calls, there's a little bit of a kind of a wall you got to bring down, because they're a little like, how'd you get my number? Right. And I just kind of tie in, with the little bit of a note that they tie in with Speed to Lead, like, hey, my manager, Emma, she reached out, said that you would be interested in selling the property. She relayed the information to me because maybe it wouldn't be a best fit for her. So I'm one of the partner investors and I'm here to, talk about purchasing the property. And me and her had a long conversation. The deal was a little bit difficult because she wanted to try and get a third base coach or, somebody else to look over the contract before she signed it, which wasn't a problem. I just went ahead and got her to give me their number, called them. They went over. They were like, yeah, this looks great. Called her back. We all three talked together. He was like, you should go for it. She signed the contract and rock and rolled. That was as simple and easy as that.
Explain to him who the third base coach was for her.
So the third base coach was a real estate agent. So he helped her out purchasing her home to live in. He's helped her out with purchasing and doing real estate before. So he wanted to look over the contract and just make sure that she wasn't getting, quote unquote, messed over in a sense, which she wasn't. He looked over it. He had a bunch of questions. I've never even talked to a real estate agent before. I just kind of was very honest with him and straightforward, and maybe, threw him out as a recommendation for whenever the house is to get remodeled or redone. And all in all, I mean, that was maybe a 5 or 10 minute conversation, and we just got right back on the phone with her.
To be clear, explain the contract that we use for our cash deals. Whose is it? And any objections he had or any critique through that contract process.
Yeah, absolutely. So the contract is a 3-page purchase agreement from RJ Bates. It's very straightforward and simple. The kind of key things that he was concerned and objected over was, one, inspection period and time frame. talking about, he's used to doing MLS contracts and MLS deals, right? This is an off the market deal. And that's kind of what I just kept tying back into. It's a cash transaction. It's off market. If I'm willing to do this for her, but she's got to follow my process. He's like, yeah, I mean, it's just a cash deal, cash transaction. It's off market. It's not official. He tied back into EMD, with EMD not being 1% of the total sale of the deal. And I kind of just tied back into him, like, why am I going to freeze up capital and money? I could use that to purchase and acquire other property. TMD or $10 EMD is what I use for every single purchase agreement, every single deal. I just kept moving on from there. And pretty much, I mean, between inspection time, EMD, and that was it, really. I mean, everything else, he never really gave me any problems against the assignable contract area in the contract, right? He didn't say nothing about that. A lot of people can have fears with talking about that, but you just kind of brush over it.
And for me, Coupon Club is gold. My $18,000 assignment, $20,000 assignment, that came from a Coupon Club lead that I had that came in. It's awesome when you come into iSpeedToLead because you're a little naive. What really hurts you is when you start prejudging leads and you start to not stick to the system. 1 in 25, 1 in 26, 1 in 28, depending on where you're at in your closers formula or your pitch. The KPIs are the KPIs, and you stick to the system. The system is legit, whether it's fixed price mode or whether it's Coupon Club. And I love how you guys right now, when we fix our system, we've got 200 or 300 leads in the system from iSpeedToLead that have not been contacted. So we're integrating a dialer to maximize Jacob's time on the phones to where we can call 3 or 4 at a time. So instead of 6 hours on the phone and 2 hours with sellers, he's going to have 2 hours on the phone and 6 hours with the sellers in order for us to hit our goals and maximize his income. So I love the feature of the auto buy, and I love the feature of it integrating into the CRM, because now I'm starting to cut off what my people are able to see so they can't prejudge the lead and they just stick to the system. What I would like to see, I guess, integrate into a CRM is if it is a little different and a little bit of a wall if somebody hits you with, how did you get my number? How did you this? How did you that? So when it gets imported into the system, there's a couple things that I'll actually ask about off channel and not on channel. But Coupon Club is the way to go. My morning routine is I check it every morning to see who's on active and who's on sale, because every day that changes inside your system. First thing in the morning, I'll buy 2 or 3. But once we fix our internal system, I'm just going to turn on the auto buy and let it rip. And we'll have a daily budget and a weekly budget that we'll go from. And Jacob will have a dialer. And then it's off to the races.
I mean, the one that we signed yesterday was an active lead. We used the active 59, and that lead went from just the one deal to being a 2 property deal. And I got a $50,000 price drop out of him on each property.
Explain those 2 deals a little bit better. And so it was an active deal, which is part of Coupon Club. We got a discount part of Coupon Club. And instead of a $29 lead, it's a $59 lead, because you get 48 hours to kind of have first dibs on that lead before the rest of the wolves get to it. And for me, I'm big on lions and kings of the jungle. So I've kind of trained Jacob to be that lion on the phone and be a savage, in time is of the essence. So walk them through the time of contact on that 48-hour period on the active lead side.
Even with that being said, I mean, this is a deal. So from yesterday, we got the deal in on the 6th of February, and I talked and conversed with him. They are fix and flippers. They've got multiple partners involved in the decision making process, but he's the one who's like the executor and signs. Had an hour-long conversation about both properties for him. basically, I got one of his other investors on the phone, and I made them both offers just because where they were at was absolutely outrageous, just based on the market in the area, and the work that they did. So I really kind of just embraced being a buyer and told them, like, look, this is what I'll pay. If you guys want to sell the property, y'all can talk amongst each other. This is all I'm willing to pay. I'm not willing to go a little bit more. They kept trying to get 10 or 15, even $5,000 extra out of me each time we talked. I'm not willing to pay anything extra. And so finally, on Sunday, they kind of, sent me a message saying, like, we're not going to worry about it. We're just going to keep them and rent them out. Follow up till yesterday when them texted me saying, hey, let's talk. I talked with my partners. Do you want to do the deal? Again, this was an active lead, active $59, and it was a predictive AI call. There was one property that turned into two, which would have been three, but commercial is just kind of, they've got like a storefront property that owes too much, but still, I mean, you can just dig with some of these people. They got multiple properties. This isn't the first time when I've talked to any of these leads that they've only had the one property. It's a little bit of a gold mine.
That's awesome story, and thank you guys for sharing that much. So I have a personal question. Since you're a father and son, so I'm kind of curious, what was your motivation to bring your son in, and why you were always kind of fine to work with your dad? So guys, just tell us more about that part of the story. I think people want to know about that. I mean, there is not much. We just always been good. It's fine too.
I mean, he's my little franchise, right? So essentially, I want to be out of the business and back to being an investor. I wanted to set him up for success. And quite honestly, if something were to happen to me, there's a trust that they would know nothing about and where none of the properties are and where are my investments. So to bring him in, I think God's led us to where we're both at as a father and a son. He had to go through and pay his dues as a lot lizard in the car lots and the power sports and everything. He's sold it all, and he's been a closer in all industry. But as you guys know, that's not a very consistent paycheck for me. I know the power of wholesale. I know the power of the system, and I know that there's 12-year-olds, 15-year-olds, 18-year-olds wholesaling for their parents via text, via email. There's no excuse. And if you're a savage, you're a savage. So you just got to find a system and a mentor and stick to it no matter what it is, good or bad. Pivot, adjust, move around, squat up, surround yourself with equal people. And that's my thing with Jacob, because I am his father. I knew he needed a mentor, he needed a community, and he needed a system because he already had the sales skills. So for me to bring him in, it was financial independence for him, but also the franchise, baby. I don't want to be running this, I want to be the Gene and he be the Yuri.
I guess it really just comes down to like a family thing, family business. I've always wanted to be in real estate, because if you're going to be in sales, why not be in like what the top 5 to 1% of what sales can bring to your pocket? But also, this opportunity, it's a hustle, and I've built the past 9 years of my life around a hustle. So yeah, I just kind of, it works. I love what I do. I wake up wanting to do what I do every day. Like, I'm excited to get my day started, to start making calls, talking to sellers, just getting on the grind. I love interacting with the community. But yeah, I mean, like, just to grow this with him, and I guess make our own parts within the industry, right? He wants to do investing. I love wholesaling. It's just kind of work out, when he becomes old, decrepit, and he needs a cane, I'll take over for that too.
No, that's awesome, and I share that a lot, like using your resources around you, like to make things happen. So no, it's definitely great. How big is your family, guys? Is that?
I have 2 children. I have Jacob, who now works for me. I have a daughter that is a junior at the University of Georgia. Go Dogs. RJ, if you're watching this, go Dogs. And That's it. I'm a single father. They have a mother, and we're a high dynamic family. We're a blended family. Everyone's friends. We share holidays, but yeah, that's it. 2 children, and I'm a workaholic, so I'm married to my businesses.
No, that's a great story. You think your daughter is joining you guys later, or not really?
She's a free range hippie.
Yeah,
She's got to find her way in life.
Okay.
she's more into like art and stuff, painting and so on and so forth. She's
She
she's
might be
just
a
gonna
designer. She might do something, but she's got to find her way. She's gonna.
uh,
She's still in school, and she hasn't had the reality check of paying her own bills yet. So she's got a little journey to go.
I have a couple of questions, if you guys don't mind, about how you guys attack. Let's talk about that, because I see you target different states, different areas. Was it always your strategy? When did you start thinking like, let's close deals in multiple places? And like, was it hard? And the
uh,
deals that you closed, by the way, did you close them like in different states, or where are those?
Again, just listening to the mentor of the community, he's a nationwide wholesaler. We definitely do nationwide, and we've narrowed it down to non-rural only because I was spending all my time trying to dispo a deal when I could dispo 5 deals in the same amount of time as one rural deal. You're really, really digging when you go rural. So I'm not opposed to it now. It's just got to be a screamer of a deal that we can dispo fast. But nationwide for us is most effective. I just like meeting new buyers on because I'm heavy on the dispo side. He's heavy on the acquisition side. I like seeing how the markets are so different in different areas. A $200,000 house in Georgia is a $800,000 house in Idaho or whatever, and just learning and growing to be a better investor slash wholesaler slash real estate business. So nationwide is definitely the way to go. We have our highest amount of buyers, and we do have a hyper focused buy box. Goal of now it's Georgia, Ohio. We're starting to pull out and pull back a little bit in the Florida markets, but Georgia, Ohio are our primary because that's where I want to invest, and that's where I want my buyer network to be. So our search for leads is a little bit bigger there, but we do nationwide because we're not gonna a deal's a deal, and
yeah.
money's money.
When a deal's a good deal, regardless of wherever it is, it'll go.
I have a quick question about this first deal you mentioned where you need to involve a transactional coordinator. Do you mind sharing a little bit more about how the involvement look like, and how do you think they helped you, and what you kind of learned from that?
It depends on if you're cash or creative on a deal because we do both. I think a TC on creative is a mandatory must. I would not do one without them. That's to me, creative is a lease option, a subject to, seller finance, just another set of eyes to put on the deal to make sure it's structured correctly, to make sure the legal mumbo jumbo, and properly vetting your TC. So I've done, several deals with my TC, and they came highly recommended, and I've been very satisfied. On a cash deal, you really got to train. It depends on if you're going to pass that on to the buyer, that fee, because in creative, you pass that on to the buyer and it's expected. In a cash deal, they're not trained that way. It's just they're not used to paying that as part of the closing cost. And when they're coming in cash, they want to keep their closing costs as little as possible. So a TC on the cash side, you really should bring it in-house because it's a very simple process and it's a lot less moving parts. So my TC now just mainly handles creative deals or deals in attorney states, to be honest with you. New York, South Carolina, all the weird places where nobody wants to do a deal. I'll do a deal there all day long, but I'm going to have a TC involved just to kind of protect myself, make sure everything's on the up and up by all parties involved. And then you got to really vet, but cash I would definitely bring in-house, train a VA or train somebody where it's the lowest cost possible because there's a lot less moving parts on cash. And so I would have a lower cost per contract on your cash side, but creative, it's a no brainer. You're an idiot if you're not using a TC on creative.
Okay. No, that's appreciate you sharing. Hey, Jacob, question to you. You mentioned that you have some conversation with our colleagues. Do you mind like telling me like how is your opening sound like? Is it depend on leads or like what do you say when you call them? Like,
No,
hey, this is
I
Yuri,
open,
and like
yeah,
what would you say?
I open the same way. So every single call that I get on is I ask, "Hey, is this John? Hey,
Yeah.
John, this is Jacob. I'm just calling about your property there on 123 Main Street. Are you still looking to sell it?" And so sometimes it really just depends. Like in some situations, I have to bring out the boxing gloves and break their wall, right? Because they're like, "Oh, how'd you get my number? Who is this? What corporation are you with?" You know, slow down, slow down. Just being personable with them, like, "Hey, my name's Jacob. I'm with LSC Home Investments. We're a father-son company. I talked to Emma, right? She said that you might be interested in selling. So, and that's how I got your information. I'm telling you, more times than not, breaking down that wall has never been a problem. Just being honest and upfront with them. And honestly, just use the notes that's in Speed to Lead. I mean, even if I've had a couple people where they kind of just talk like, Emma, I've had so many people, right? Like, I've never even talked to an Emma. Like, oh, well, I mean, regardless, I'm buying in the area. Are you still interested to sell? Again, just tying back into it. Like, if you really want to sell, let's have a conversation about it. Talk to me.
What's the main thing? Like if you're interested to
Yeah,
sell or not, let's talk about that. Okay, no,
you
that's
want to sell? I'm a buyer. Let's talk. And again, I've never like had anybody just like tell me from after being at that point in the call, they're like, "Oh no, I don't want to talk to you." It always works.
appreciate you sharing that. So you call in different states. Like, can you tell us a bit more about how do you do like comps or like what the price to suggest or where you need them to be? Like, is there you guys have some calculators? You just already have some muscle
So
at, or how does that go? Especially since you target different areas
yeah,
and you try to do one call close too. So that's
yeah, exactly. So honestly, again, we kind of keep harping on it, RJ, right? The process of training myself to like the second. So I don't ever pull up any addresses before I get on the phone with the seller. Right. So the second that they answer, I've become really like I'm a big technical person. I'm really quick with the systems and processes. We use a couple of different comping softwares, Privy, PropStream. I also base some of my comps within investor base too, seeing where investors buy, what they bought at, and where they sold at. And the second that they answer, I'm copy and pasting. Hey, this is Jacob calling about your property there on and by that time I've already got the address pulled up in Privy. I'm copying it out of Privy, putting it in PropStream, and just looking, going down the list. How much are you looking to get for the property? Well, I'm still looking, listening to them. And then once they give me what that price point looks like, just asking, hey, can you tell me what's going on? And then from there, that's when they really start to kind of open up and they give you a lot of like vomit from the mouth. You know what I mean? Like they kind of just start spilling their story. And in that moments, again, I'm looking how many beds, baths, square footages, what's this house look like if this sold for versus my subject property, and just kind of listening. I keep a pen and paper in front of me at all times. So if they talk about any benefits that they've made to the property or anything that needs to be done, writing it down while I'm looking through, writing it down while I'm walking through. So again, usually I'm everything on the same call while comping while I'm listening. It's a tough little skill to learn, but I love multitasking. I've been blessed, I guess I could say, with the ability to do multiple things at one time, like high functioning.
That's great. And you mentioned you guys try to do also creatives. You buy in some certain areas. You do cash. Are you guys doing innovations? Yes, no, why not? What's the story there?
So when you say novation, that's actually a two-part. You could be novation as a buyer, or you could be novation as the wholesaler. So yes, we do both. And right now, the only way I'm even considering a novation as a buyer is the fix and flip, where they get paid at closing. We come in, we do all the repairs, and we have a very specific process. But I'm not going to be a buyer until June, when we give this business a full 6 months, no distractions or shiny objects. But yeah, so you on a novation, you can either do it as a buyer or you can do it as a wholesaler. And we do novations as a wholesaler. we have a 3-point touch process with our leads now that I've developed. Jacob is cash and he stays in his box, and he's harping on them and coming back and coming back and coming back. If he sees an opportunity for a creative and he's exhausted his resources, it goes to our creative person and she'll start to take over the lead. If she's exhausted seller finance and I just want to list with an agent, whatever, they're tossing it over to me on the novation side. I have a very good marketing background. So then I pull out the novation side of things, and it's really just like, hey, you want full market value? None of these opportunities are going to work for us. Seems like we can't come to an agreement. So why don't we let you see what the market will tell you? And, but me on the novation side, I don't do all those cheesy spiels and pitches and all that. We're just pretty raw. And I tell them, I'm going to look up the real comps that have sold in the last 60 to 90 days. I'm going to tell you exactly where the market is. And I'm going to tell you that I need a certain spread between here and here. For example, yesterday, somebody brought us a multi-million-dollar property for a novation agreement. And I was like, no way. There's no way to move a multi-million-dollar property in the time frame and the pain point of that seller in 90 days. If it is, it's got to be priced here, and then I can find you a buyer. But unless you're seller, so you got to be careful with novations because they do take time. There is a lot of moving parts. There's some legal stuff. If you don't have the right paperwork, if you haven't explained it to them properly, for me, I'm just like, here's what's sold in the last 90 days. I don't care what a realtor or Zillow is telling you. Here's your true raw data. And here's where you need to be so that I have some room in here to negotiate. And I also need a profit margin.
Mhm.
Yes, I am more expensive than a realtor because I work harder than a realtor. And my marketing strategy with a novation agreement is once we get the listing, I go into privy and I go into batch. I look to see who is the top 10 agents in that area that has sold a property in that local market. I contact each of those real estate agents. I offer them a 3.5% sales commission. And that way I have 10 agents at 3.5% versus 1/3 of a agent at 3% on the buyer side and 3% on the listing agent side. So our strategy is a little bit more like, or I tell the sellers straight up, I sell houses. I don't want it to sit. I don't get paid for things to sit on market. If we're going to do this, we're going to price it aggressively. You're going to be at this price because here's my marketing strategy because I wholesale. I'm in the moving the needle business, not letting it sit and wait for a fat commission like your real estate agent. And if you want to do that, you need about 4 to 6 months based on where the market's at. We don't just novate any deal. It's got to be a good deal and it's got to be a good market. So I'll pass on a lot of them. And I never novate on the $1 million deals. I just takes up too much time and resources. I'm in the Dispo business. Let's get it off the books.
So how is this transition process goes? Like, so Jacob talks, he offers the cash offer. So is it like in the end, hey, like sounds like there is not a fit here, but we have different ways of doing things. So like, how does that go?
Obviously, I pitch cash and try and make it happen as much as I can. And then if cash isn't going to work, I kind of pitch the idea of creative to see
Mhm.
if it's something that they would be interested in, right? And kind of because I know a little bit about it, right? And just enough to make me dangerous, right? If it's something that I think that they would be willing to entertain or talk about more, all I do is I just set up a appointment basically to get them back on the phone with one of our creative people and introduce them by bringing them in together all in one call, and then I kind of just back away slowly, right?
And like, since you guys shared a lot, what's the best way to contact you if people want to connect with you? Maybe get some of your advice or do GVs or something like that.
Instagram, Facebook, of course. Like I said, I'm Jacob Zawacki. My name that's down here. Everywhere. That's me everywhere. YouTube. We also, I have an email, sales at LSC Home Investment. That's my personal email. Cell phone.
Instagram, guys, reach out. We'll also put some contact information in the comments. So make sure to reach out to the guys So who can really potentially can close the deals, do GV with them, and all those type of things. Last two questions I have before I let you go. What would you say you like the most about fixed price mode? So I see you use that. You have different states, but with particular counties and some parameters. So
with fixed price mode, I'm not going to say that there's not opportunity with the coupon clubs, because there has been a lot of like good conversations from coupon clubs. But a lot of times on those fixed price mode leads, I end up having really, really good conversations with those sellers. I think that it's a little bit like for more of those one call closes and those fixed price mode leads, I kind of just feel like it moves in the right direction a lot smoother, and it's titled right around where we want to buy. Right. For me, for example, for cash, we can just go in and set the preferences of full gut, remodel for kitchen, so on and so forth. No, it's not listed, either vacant or, I mean, just the kind of things that you want as a wholesaler, right? To try and close on that first call a lot easier. And then they just kind of roll in whenever they check the box.
Last question. I asked it everybody, kind of bliss question. What would you say would be your top 3 advice to people that start? And actually, you can do 6 if you guys each want to go. But
Find a mentor, stick to their system, pivot when needed, and squat up. If you're doing your first few deals, find somebody who's done deals before and done them successfully and partner. And even if that requires you taking less money to learn how to do it correctly.
I agree. Maybe one other thing to tie in is listen more than you talk. If you're doing more talking than the seller, you're not going to close the deal.
God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. You should listen more than you're speaking.
you have a particular example of that where maybe what you heard from other guys doing like Ron? So that's actually, I don't think I asked it before.
The awkward silence from RJ is clutch. Use it.
Yeah. You know, I see videos of other wholesalers, you know, now that I'm in the game, the pattern from social media, the more that I look into it, the more I see on everything, right? And I see so many times where they're trying to, it's not like a bad thing to navigate the call, but again, they're doing a whole lot more talking than listening. They're going to close a whole lot less deals because the seller's going to tell you everything you need to know, everything you need to hear in order to close the deal. So if you're overcoming that and you're just talking way too much, you're just gonna have to buy more leads from Yuri and Gene. You know, you're gonna have to hope, you know, that 1 to 20 is gonna have to be 1 to 50 because you're just trying to find the laydown.
That's awesome, and I think I did good job with listening today. So, so no, I appreciate you guys sharing. This was a lot of cool information. Again, this is father and son combo, Joy and Jacob, guys. Thank you for joining. Looking forward for you to close even more deals with us. Guys, stay tuned, subscribe to our channel, and reach out to Joy and Jacob if you guys need any help. Thank you for being on.
Thank you.
Take care.
Absolutely.